The Uzbek Air Force, looking for a long time for acquisition of more advanced fighters in the market, now turned to Chinese fighters for modern but cost-effective solution. The Uzbek Defense Industry Agency has reported that China has authorized the sale of an unknown variant of modern fighters, fueling speculation that the Chinese offered JF-17 Block 3, J-10C fighters to Uzbekistan. The Soviet successor state has emerged as a major client for Chinese military equipments, and has phased out all very old Soviet equipments supplied during Cold War era. As the country's Soviet Su-27 and MiG-29 fourth-generation fighters near the end of their service lives, it was previously reported that procurement of the Russian Su-30SM or French Rafale were under consideration. Neighboring Kazakhstan, which has a considerably larger air force and defense budget, previously evaluated the competing Russian and French aircraft before selecting the Su-30SM, which was considered more cost-effective despite its much higher operational costs due to its far larger sensor suite, superior flight performance, and much longer range. Uzbekistan was one of just 4 Soviet successor states to have inherited the Su-27 flanker, which was the country's most capable class of air superiority fighter and is widely considered to have been the most formidable in the world in the Cold War era. Su-27s were retired without replacement by the Belarusian Air Force in 2009, with only a single fighter remaining in service for training purposes, due to their high operational costs. The Su-27 has largely been phased out of service in the Russian Air Force and replaced with newer, 4+ generation, Su-30SM and Su-35 fighters, while the large Ukrainian fleet has few aircraft remaining following years of crashes, a number of sales to the United States, and over 3 years of combat with Russian forces. The Uzbek Air Force is reported to have retired its own Su-27s from service in 2020, making it the second service in the world only after Belarus to do so. Much like Belarus, this left the Uzbek fleet with the Su-27's lighter and less capable counterpart the MiG-29 as its only operational fighter, with only around a dozen of the aircraft thought to be in service. Procurement of modern fighter aircraft from China would allow the Uzbek fleet to reverse this trend towards decline and contraction in its combat capabilities. A significant possibility remains that Uzbekistan will seek to procure more than one class of Chinese fighter as part of a high-low combination, namely either the lightweight J-10C or even lighter JF-17 Block 3 alongside the much larger twin-engine J-35. These would replace the MiG-29 and Su-27 respectively. The JF-17 Block 3 benefits from much lower procurement and operational costs and similarly advanced avionics and weapons to the J-10C. The Pakistan Air Force currently deploys both fighter classes as part of a high-low combination, and is planning procurement of the J-35, while the Bangladesh Air Force is reported to be considering similarly procuring the 2 fighters to replace its J-7s and MiG-29s. The J-10C has proven itself capable of outperforming some of the world's heaviest fighters in air-to-air combat, with the aircraft reported in 2020 to have consistently outperformed the Russian Su-35 in simulated engagements. Although the J-10C is more sophisticated than competing Russian fourth-generation fighters, and as a much smaller aircraft has far lower operational costs and maintenance needs than fighters such as the Su-27, Su-30 or Su-35, a leading disadvantage for the vast Central Asian state remains its much shorter range, which limits the ability to patrol national airspace. A sale to Uzbekistan would mark a second major breakthrough for Chinese fighter exports to Soviet successor states, following the sale of JF-17 Block 3 fighters to Azerbaijan.